Hello everyone, my name is Mike Ray and welcome to my shop today. We're going to be starting a project working on a magnetic drill that I picked up at a show here last September. Not had a chance to work on it until today. I finally got everything set up to start actually taking this thing apart. It's an older machine, but it seems to work okay, but I'm going to tear it down and put a new cord on it, clean it up real good, and just generally go through it and document everything as I go so you guys can see what all I'm doing to it. And again, it's a functioning device. I'll basically just be taking it apart and working on it, tearing it down into its pieces. It's a Slugger. So it needs to be a pretty good functioning mag drill. So I've been wanting one for a long time. Didn't really want to get into the costs associated with the mag drill. These tools are great to have when you need them. They're not everyday use tools, but if you're out working somewhere and you need to get on something and get a hole drilled, then they're almost indispensable when it comes to getting a good hole drilled on a piece of equipment or a piece of heavy steel. So as we get into tearing it apart, we'll talk about it a little bit more, and we will just in general clean it up, get it fitted out, and put it back together and put it to good use. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to shoot me an email or comment. Thank you. So here is the Slugger mag drill that I'm going to be tearing apart and working on. It's a pretty old device. I haven't been able to actually work and figure out exactly what year it is at this point, but I know it is a working drill. So being able to have the all the pieces here, it's not all gummed up too bad. You can tell it's been used a pretty good bit, but it's not in such a state that it can't be repaired. So I've got a few places. It looks like it's going to need a new cord. This cord obviously is in pretty rough shape. I'll be able to fix that. I'll also be able to clean everything up. All the labels are all still there. It all seems to function well. I mean, I'll fire it up here in just a second. Maybe I can redo this case and get it painted. It's beat up, but not so bad that it's going to cause any issue. The labels are pretty much shot. Looks like one of the handles broke off at some point. Somebody was obviously torquing on it pretty good, but two of the holes are still good. But I'm gonna pull this off and we'll figure out what we got to do to get that out. I ran it a little bit. Bit's dull that was on it. I got to figure out what kind of fittings or what kind of bits go on it, what taper. All right, so I've got me a piece of steel here. I just didn't want to turn this thing on and on my toolbox here, playing around with it. Don't want to drill a hole in my toolbox. I'm gonna plug it up. Even though the cord's frayed, I checked it out. It all seems fine. Get that there. So you got several different switches here. As long as the magnet is off, the unit itself will not come on. This is the motor on switch. So if you've got the motor switch on without the magnet on, it won't come on. If you got the magnet on, obviously, I've got this 1/2-inch piece of plate here. You see that it's attached to it. And there it is detached. So the magnet's working fine. It's got a really good, strong magnet on it. It's great. And then once you get it set up, turn this back off again, paying attention to not drill a hole in my workbench. Let's see what we got here. So it looks like it's holding pretty good. Pleased with that. So definitely going to be a good rebuild project because I've got, you know, pretty good working piece of hardware here. It just needs to be dismantled and gone through and just give it some attention, get it back into good working order. So with the magnet on, now you can turn on the drill motor. And see that works really well. So with that, I'm gonna start taking it apart so we can see what all the pieces are. The dovetails all look pretty good, you know, on the unit itself. All the dovetails down in here look good. This wire connecting the main unit to the motor drill looks fine. All the different pieces there all look to be in good working order. So this is going to be obviously a little bit of discovery for me. Never taken one of these apart. Appears to be, these are metric screws, metric bolts. I like to have these little carving tools. You know, you can get them obviously at anywhere, but Harbor Freight or Northern Tool, or you know, you can buy them online. They're actually originally were dental tools or whatever, but they're really good for cleaning out and picking out different stuff. So, especially when stuff's all gummed up, so you can kind of see what you got going on. Also helps if you wear your glasses. One of those cruelties in life. Once you figure out how to do stuff, you can't see to do it anymore. So this one I'm just trying to see which Allen size goes in to fit that arbor there. 5/32. So this has two Allen screws holding it on. This one's pretty tight. Hopefully it's not cross-threaded. Taking a little bit of effort to get it loose. And I'm just hoping this has never been off, because it sure is tight. There it comes. Threads seem to be okay in there. So the fun part will be keeping track of all these different screws. They're different sizes. Got a hex head screw, 3 different size set screws, 2 10mm bolts. One thing I do not like to do is get too far into forcing anything without first trying to understand more about how it's put together. Doesn't seem to be threaded in there at all. That came loose. Obviously I've got the arbor loose. from the drill. Get the grime off of it and see. I always find it good to study it a little while and don't try to force anything. It's always faster to take your time when you're doing this stuff so that you don't have to replace parts. This has some rust buildup on it. It's just got some surface rust on it here. What I'm trying to do is see if I can bring this collar up over this arbor. But I want to make sure that I get this surface rust off first. Let's see there. I just use a little bit of PB Blaster. Everybody's got their favorite penetrating oil or cleanup oil. I just like to use that because it helps get rid of the rust. You just have to make sure you get everything cleaned up really good. This has a bearing in it, obviously for that housing to ride on. Lubrication and cleanup there. So, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's it's a bearing actually. It is a B248 Torrington bearing. So, looks like it's in pretty good shape. Clean up pretty good. Get one of my larger tools here. Seems to be coming off pretty easy. Good. So let's just get a little bit of... This is a aluminum housing. Guess that's good because if it was all solid steel, this thing would weigh a lot of weight, have a lot of weight to it. This will just let me kind of see what I've got. Some gummy around there. Looks to be in pretty good shape. A couple of nicks here and there, but obviously to get used. So it looks great. All right. Make sure I got all this stuff going in the shot here. There we go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to separate these pieces. Try to get the buildup off of here so this will slide off. A lot of times it doesn't take a lot of buildup on a arbor like this to cause stuff to hang up. So simply hitting it with a emery cloth or a little file, I see this feels rough here, so that kind of concerns me that I may be messing that up inside. So what we can do is kind of knock this edge off a little bit. I feel it feels rough, obviously, where it's been hitting stuff. So all I'm looking for here is there's a little burr right there. I'm just going to take that little bit off. Not a lot, just barely touch it so I can feel it smooth it up. And right there you can see where there was that little burr on there. This is just very light passes on this, not a lot of pressure at all. And a lot of times just taking the funk off of it will be enough to give you the clearance you need to get it off, because this is obviously, you know, what helps keep you aligned, keep everything in alignment. All right, just that little bit. You saw what I did there. Just that little bit's going to make it come right off. There you go. Feels good on the inside. And when I was doing that, I could feel this bit coming loose. So obviously that penetrating oil's had a little bit of time to work there. So this is coming apart now. And then there's a spring-loaded piece on the inside of this. Be careful with that or I'll shoot it across the room. Little plunger there. I don't particularly like persuading things. This piston inside here is a little gummy, so I'm having to do a little bit of persuading to get it out. Just have to be careful not to gall it up or mess anything up on the inside of the arbor, because obviously this piece travels inside here. I had to do a little bit of persuading to get that off of there, just because it's all gummed up. So that's pretty much the arbor, all the components of the arbor. What I like to do when I'm working on these things is kind of group things by the project area that they're in. You know, so being able to get all these pieces together, keep them together, helps you get everything put back together when you're finished. Obviously taking lots of pictures helps. You know, I do like to and think that it's a great idea to take some pictures. This still has a piece that comes out. It looks pretty good on the inside. I don't think that'll need any honing in there. Just clean it up. Looks pretty good actually inside. And that piece fits in there like that. And this one, I'm just, you know, you feel for rough edges here around this opening. Looks like it's, you know, might have hit on a few things, but there we go, it's better. So what I'm looking at, I can feel some rough edges here along this surface. So I'm gonna, you know, deburr that a little bit. So that'll just need some cleanup. Not that it'll ever come out of there, because once this is mounted, this is the main area of operation here. So it's a little sticky up here on this end, so I got to figure out what that is. But not enough probably to affect how it works. So bearing definitely needs some grease. Seems pretty good though. Like I said, a little bit sticky there. Probably some more cleanup of that. Get that surface build up off of that. Probably will be sufficient on that. Get that cleaned up. So I'll get all these cleaned up in a parts wash, and then we'll start working on the main, see if we can get the motor body off and take the dovetails apart next. So we got the arbor taken apart, got it put in a bag just so that it's all grouped together like I want it to be. Now we're going to start working on the next step to taking this thing apart. Going to look and see if I can get the drill motor off of the base. Looks to be pretty straightforward. You got on this side, you've got some screws on this side here that help keep everything aligned. Looks like some adjustment screws maybe here as well, so the gibs and all can be adjusted. But of course, all in all, that seems good and tight. It just needs, of course, it needs lubricating and cleaning up. But these pieces here seem to be plastic. Seem to be hard plastic. The actual gibs, part of the dovetail assembly anyway. The handle here looks like it's got a snap ring on this side, maybe where they can come off and you can switch sides with it. And obviously the motor wire comes into the back of the unit here and comes into the motor drive assembly here. So I'm going to look and see what I need to do to make sure that all this comes apart like I want it to. So I'll zoom you guys in here a little bit closer so you can kind of see what I'm doing, and we'll keep disassembling.